What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. I'm Andrew. This is Aggie. We're here at Nexus Jiu-Jitsu in Folsom. Over the weekend on Saturday, we had Billy Brand fighting out there at A1 Combat in Wheatland. Got a good TKO finish at the end of the third. Really good fight. Congrats to Billy.
Yeah, Billy.
I'll post some stuff about that on the Instagram. But yeah, so today we're going to be looking at single leg X, straight foot locks, and options if people put the boot on. You know, a lot of times when we're going into our single leg X straight foot attacks, straight foot lock attacks, Achilles locks, and things of that nature, the person's gonna really put that boot on, make their legs strong and straight, pull their toes back towards their face, and it's hard to finish those straight foot locks when people are doing that. It's not impossible, and generally the muscles that are pulling their toes back towards their face are not as strong as the muscles you're using to finish those locks. But what I found in my jiu-jitsu career when I was younger, doing straight foot locks the way I was taught at a younger age, was it was very effort heavy and efficiency was kind of low. The percentages that I'd finish versus the percentages that I'd lose were kind of skewed towards losing the lock. So today we're going to look at a few concepts, a few ideas on the straight foot lock that I like to use that make it a very low effort, very high efficiency motion where I'm not using a whole lot of my energy. And then we'll look at two counters to their extended leg, putting the boot on situation where we can have a bottom side foot lock or turn it into a top side foot lock. Remember, anytime you have a straight extended limb, it's very easy to harass at the end of the lever. So we're going to use that against them when we're playing these footlock positions, okay? So we're not going to talk about how we got here. There's a ton of ways to get to single leg X, but we're going to find our way to single leg X. And when you're playing single leg X, the goal is to make sure, and I've talked about this in previous videos, the goal is to make sure that my inside leg has straight hamstring control. See how my foot is hooking on the same side hamstring as my leg. It's left against right, I understand that, but it's on the same side. I don't want to do cross hamstring control when we're seated here. If she's educated on the position, I made a video about this before where there's submission locks for the person who's stuck in the single leg X. This is a perfect scenario for her. Okay, so I want to make sure that I'm here. My heel is tucked into the hip. My knee is covering my heel to make as much of a closed wedge as possible, and my toes are turned out towards the floor. Now, when we start to enter our straight foot lock attacks, what I want to do first is expose her leg in a proper manner. Right now her knee is pointed to the ceiling, which means her toes are pointed to the ceiling, which means if she pulls her hamstring strong, she's locking her heel to the mat. And it's hard to pick this foot up, right? So what I want to do first is turn her knee out. I push the inside of the knee, making her knee point laterally across the mat, and it makes her toes point laterally across the mat. So now it's very easy to pick this foot up off the mat. Okay? So that's the first thing I look to do, is I open the knee. Okay? That also gives me a little bit more of a bend in the leg, which is something that I want. Now I can start to gather the ankle because it's easy to lift her foot off the mat. Okay? So I'm going to start to wrap the ankle up here. Now my goal is to push the knee away so I can slide down the leg. I don't want to be on the calf. I don't want to be high up on the leg because I don't really care how strong you are. It's unlikely you're going to be able to break somebody's tib-fib. Right, the two bones here. If you do get on the calf and you're squeezing away using all your energy, you might get a pain tap from somebody who doesn't understand the position. But guys who've been doing this a long time or people who understand the position, they're not going to tap to pain. So I'm going to push the knee and slide back, low. Now I can see the top of the ankle. I can see the top of the foot. I look back and I can't see her toes. I know I'm in a good spot. The main problem I see here is people will just start ripping here and giving it all they got. My hands are low, there's a gap between her foot and my elbow and hip are very far from each other. That all is not conducive towards a tight foot lock, okay? What I want to do is I want to bring my hands high by bringing my elbow close to my hips, which is also going to close this space. So I go here, look, and she'll tell you, the pressure's already starting. I haven't applied any heat yet, but the pressure's there. Look how high my hand is now. Okay. Now I can cover my hand, okay? And I don't need to pull anymore. Most of our footlocks are pulling as hard as we can, and maybe they tap, maybe they don't, maybe I burn all my energy. When I close this elbow to my hip. Make sure it's in front of your body. Don't close it behind your body like this. Right now she doesn't feel any pressure. I don't want every time you put your hands or elbows behind your body, you're losing all your strength. We're not a good species to fight with our hands behind our backs, right? We want everything anterior. So make sure your elbow is in front of your body here. So when I close, look where my elbow is. Now I connect. Now watch, I'll use zero effort. All I'm gonna do is pick my hips up off the mat, touch my shoulder point to the mat. Look here. It's so powerful because my arm is the fulcrum on her foot, and my body weight is rolling her foot over my fulcrum of my arm by me taking my hip off the mat and leaning my shoulder point to the mat. If I get my shoulder point to the mat and my hip up as high as I can go, then I can start applying hip pressure, right? Then you'll get those really good breaks, okay? So again, we're here. I open the knee. I hook the leg, and now I scoot back. Look, I want to get low so I could see the top of the ankle here. I look back, I can't see the toes. We're working with something good here. Now I want to bring my elbow close to my hip, make sure it's anterior, in front of my body. I go here, look. So she feels it already. Hand to hand, and now I use this foot on the mat to pick my hips up. Right there. You get your strong, strong breaks. I'm telling you, that ankle will go, okay? And if I can get my hips up here, and she's still not tapping, now I can apply that pressure. I still have 60, 70% of my motion left, right? Most people tap at 20, 30% of my motion. Then I have a bunch more to give, right? Now, if you start trying to enter the foot and they put on that boot and they're extending their leg and they're putting on this boot here and you're like, I can't get this lock. Now her leg is straight, so it's easy to harass at the end of the lever. So I'm just gonna lay back and cross her foot to top side here. And I hug it nice and tight. What I like to do now is I like to hug under the knee and put my own thigh against my hand to watch. I can bend her leg, look, boom. So I bend her leg against her will now. And now I have top side footlock options, which in my opinion are much more brutal and devastating than bottom side footlock options. The bottom side footlock, I finished those plenty. Top side footlock, I've actually broken people's legs in competitions, right? Broken, like fully broken, several. So this is where I really like to be, okay? Now, when I want to go into my footlock here, there's not a whole lot of space for me to get on her foot. So what I'm going to do is I'm holding her knee, I'm going to hip escape out a little bit, and then I'm going to drive my thumb knuckle down against her Achilles, her face, against the Achilles, against the meat, pushing the meat out of the way, and then I hug tight to my body. I call this going to second base, right? Get a hold of some chest here, okay? If it's in the gi, you can grab your gi, okay? I pull my hips back to her, which starts the pressure. Now I want to build some height, so I come up on my elbow, okay? Now the break comes from a little bit of rotation. It's more toe hold style pressure. It's not straight foot lock. It's more toe hold-esque, which is what I want. So now look, I roll. I look away from her and bring my elbow across my center line, and there's my finish. That's breaking her foot more side on this way and less so front and back this way. People will let these tendons and things pop, but when these pop, it's a problem, right? So again, we're here, straight foot lock. She puts the boot on, I'm struggling. I pass the foot to the top side. Now look, I hug the knee and close my thigh against her knee here. And that's gonna bend that leg. Now I can hip escape out, drive my arm, bone, thumb knuckle across that Achilles, across that meat, going in nice and deep, hugging my own chest. Bring my hips back, build up, and rotate. And there's your finish. That's devastating. That's definitely worse than a straight foot lock on the bottom side. But let's go to something even worse, okay? So we get here, I've bent her knee. Now, I want to keep her knee bent, so I'm keeping this hand here. When I make my hip escape, I don't want to transition with this arm, because she can straighten her leg again, right? Yeah. I'm going to keep this here, keeping her knee bent. I hip escape out, I'm going to shoot my bottom arm through, here. I'm shining my chest towards the ceiling here, right? And my bottom wrist bone is going to catch right on that Achilles. Okay, now I can lock a figure four here. When I lock this, I want to rotate this palm towards me, my primary hand palm. I don't want it rotated away from me because that makes a weak wrist, and it ends up hurting my wrist more than it hurts them, and it puts the flat part of my arm against their leg. I rotate my palm towards me. It puts the blade of my wrist right into her Achilles, and it makes that strong wrist that I want. So now I lock that figure 4. She's already feeling some pressure right there in that Achilles. And now I bring my hips back. See that face? I love it. And now here, again, I rotate. And there's my finish. I'm pulling this elbow up and back and crunching my shoulder towards my hip. And that, again, is causing that toe hold style rotational finish. Okay? So again, we land here. I bend her leg. I hip escape out, and I dive this arm through. Boom, here. Figure 4. Nice strong lock, palm towards me. I bring my butt back to her butt. And now I rotate. Boom, and there's my finish. So that third one is the most devastating of the 3. That's the one that I've really broken people's legs with. I've broken people with all 3, but that third one, like, snaps. People are screaming, and they're in a bad spot for a long time, right? And that's not what, obviously, that's not what I want in competition, but it happens, right? So as far as going into straight footlocks go, there's bottom side footlocks that are good, they're strong, they're effective, but people can deal with them in different ways. The top side footlocks are a lot harder to deal with, and they're way more devastating. So if you're entering into those single leg X bottom side footlocks and they're putting that boot on, don't even fight them there. Straight limbs are easy to harass. Take it to the top side. Once they're on the top side, bend that knee. Either attack with top side arm footlocks or bottom side arm footlocks. The bottom side being the most devastating of all 3. So hopefully that helps you out. I had a subscriber ask about how to finish footlocks when they put on the boot. There's some good ideas for you there. Try it out. Let me know how it goes. Throw something down in the comments. Subscribe, like. Again, I'm Andrew. This is Aggie. We're here at Nexus Jiu-Jitsu in Folsom. Congratulations to Billy Brand once again.
Billy!
Let's go. And yeah, we'll see you guys in the next one.